how many of you are from Eastern Africa? Oh, it's a lot. Wakanda forever! And how many of you are from Southern Africa? I have to ask, any Zimbos in the house?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Any convent girls in the house? Where? Sorry guys, come on! That's my alma mater, man. Well, awesome to meet all of you. Really, really awesome. It's really exciting to be back here. I haven't been here since 2009. I went to college with the great Frederick Swanica way long ago. And so I'm so excited to see this because he came to me after he finished university and he went to Mackenzie and then he was at Stanford. And while he was at Stanford, he said, we sat down in New York, he said, I want to start a school and I want it to be, the problem with Africa is our leadership and we need to look at the best and the brightest in the future to invest in our future leaders. And I was like, I'm all in, whatever you need from me. And the only thing he needed from me mostly was my couch because he would crash on my couch in New York City a lot and go and really bring this idea to a lot of Americans who had a lot of resources and help and have them invest in the vision. And so he'd come and crash on my couch many times a year, and then more and more this place would start to build up and build up and build up. And then by around 2008, I came here, it was like, it was done.
Yeah,
and
it was open.
This existed, and there were students, and there was action, and there was curriculum, and I'd sit in a classroom and I'd hear the Liberian, I'd hear the Ghanaian, I'd hear the Nigerian, I'd hear the Zimbabwean, I'd hear the South African, I'd hear the Angolan, and I was like, this is amazing. So you guys just know I support you. Many people out there support you. You are our future. We are excited about what you're doing. We will continue to support you. I'm so sorry I won't be here this weekend. I have to go back to the States tonight, but I'm going to give you a little present. That is, go watch Black Panther this weekend. Because the thing I love about that film, I'm just thankful I got to be a part of it. Even if I wasn't a part of it, I would still have you all go. Is that it sort of shows that world that I feel like Fred was thinking about when he invested in all of you, which is that world where we think beyond whatever trauma we've experienced as a continent, and we reclaim ourselves and our greatness, and we find our way to our best modernity, our way from our own vision. So I'm really excited to see you guys watch it. Gavin will give me a little video, I'm sure. By the way, I've known this guy since I was 13.
You're making me blush now.
He was a lot older, but no, I'm kidding.
I'm a lot older than her.
Not that much, yeah. But we were doing theater together in Zim, me and his brother and a whole bunch of other Zimbos, and I introduced him to Fred, and then that relationship never died, thank God.
Lifelong engagement.
So here he is, and teaching the arts, and to the artists, anyone, whatever you do, the continent needs it. Whatever you do. I know we have sometimes parents, relatives who tell us what to be. Here is where you find your greatness on your own, which is your strongest self. If your passion keeps pulsating towards the arts, just go with it. I wasn't around a lot of artists when I was growing up. Not everyone I had some support, but just go where your greatness lies. You'll find your path, but that's your fuel, is where your passion is. That's the fuel. So I'm really, really excited for you guys. I really, really am, for your future. I pay attention to the school, every step it takes, all the alum, what they're doing, what you guys will do. So thank you so much. I'll take a couple questions and then I have to let you guys go get an education. So anyone who has a question, I will take it. Yes?
2 questions.
That's okay. It was compounded. It was a compounded question.
It's a trick thing.
Compound question. I did, here's how I got introduced to it. It was, I was approached, and I was just finishing my play Eclipse premiere on Broadway, the actual night of, and I was walking out, and my manager says, "You have an offer from Marvel for," I was like, "What?" I didn't know what he was talking about. I really was like so confused. I thought it was April Fool's. And so it took a while because I was busy, you know, everything was, you know, I was in New York, they were all in LA, but eventually I went to LA and I knew that Ryan Coogler was going to be the writer-director. And I knew of him through his, I'd always been very proud of him. I'd never met him, but I'd always been very proud of him because he was a man who came out of, very young, came out of his graduate school program and created this beautiful film called Fruitvale Station. And it was very popular across the country and very, very important about a brutal police killing. And so, which Michael B. Jordan starred in. So I knew this young man had done this right out of school. And he was so humble and good and kind. When I heard him speak, I was like, who is this guy? There's something very special about him. And then I saw his film. I watched it at home and I was floored. And then he did another film called Creed. And so sitting down with him, yeah, that was all him, like that idea of what happened to the son of, you know, of that character. That's all his concept. He's brilliant. So I sat down with him and he told me this world he was going to create about this nation based on the comic book Black Panther, but about this nation, Wakanda, which is in the comic book, which was never colonized and is very, very advanced, but the world doesn't know it because it's surrounded by mountains like Lesotho. And he told me about my character and the world of the story and how he'd just been to the continent and he'd been here, he'd been in Lesotho, he'd been in Kenya, and all the things he was pulling from to make this world real. And I was like, well, this is exactly what I've always wanted. This is what I do. I tell African stories. I've never had the opportunity to tell an African story on this platform. And that's what Marvel offers. Marvel and Disney put it on a platform where you guys get to go watch it on Sunday at a big theater, right? Marvel and Disney put it on a platform where the world is watching it, from here to Korea to China to Canada, and they're seeing an African story told on a massive level. So, and you know, they've invested in it beautifully and allowed us to tell an epic story from an African perspective. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Why would I not work with Marvel? Who would say no to that? They're amazing. They're amazing at what they do. And they're the first ones to make this type of an investment in an African narrative. And now they've set the path that can't be reversed. It's so clear that it works, you know. So I'm very thankful to them, and I would definitely recommend people working with them. Yes.
Hi.
And then I have to get another girl.
We know that being black and African, like how we navigate the world is very, very difficult sometimes. So when people look at you, as in people who symbolically look like you, and maybe people who come from the same background as you, what do you want them to get from looking at you being on stage or maybe acting out in a big film like Black Panther?
You know, I mean, what I would love is, one thing is true. I got asked this question. I was with some black young ladies in London just now. They just watched the film. They were students of the arts around your age. And there's a moment in the film where they really were thinking about the beauty aesthetic question that they've had their whole lives because they're living in the West. And even when you're not living in the West, you're getting that beauty aesthetic issue. And we talked about it, and it was really interesting to watch them struggle or open up around this issue. And like one of them said to me, "Have you always been like this? Did the moment come where you changed or whatever?" And I said, yes. And I think for every one of us who are of African descent, we are born into a struggle. We are born into a struggle, and the world does not really look at us with favor. But the thing that's powerful for all of us is when we come to that moment of consciousness. And it's your own. I can't impose it on you. I could try to influence you, tell you, read this, watch this, let's discuss that. Where does that come from you? Who told you that you have to do things that way? Who told you that this part of yourself isn't acceptable? Is it a lie? Is it maybe a lie? We can have those conversations, definitely. But at some point, each one of us as people of African descent have to personally reject the lies. Because there are a lot of lies we are told. And we have to come to that moment in ourselves. We're like, wait a minute, I reject that. That's not true. My people are different from the Western perspective, etc., but they're not deficient. And our ways of approaching things does not make us less. We have our own way, and there's power in it. That's also what I love about this film. I really want to hear back from you guys when you watch it. I do love how it shows an Afrofuturism where these are people uncolonized and they choose a different way of seeing themselves. And that's the key thing. I love how proud the Wakandans are. They're really proud because they think their way is the best way. And I really think that, especially my character, but I really think that everyone has to go through that moment where they recognize the lie. And then, yes, you will still consistently deal with discrimination at times. You will still deal with people undermining you, having lesser expectations of you than they should, simply because you're from the continent. You will still deal with that, but you have to come to your own place of re-education, which this school is brilliant for, where you're like, wait a minute, that's not true. And I'm going to exact a different reality for my people, for how I express myself, for what I embrace. Sometimes this you can be told by the world, there's no point in knowing your native tongue. That's a lie. Sometimes you can be told there's no point in embracing, your natural beauty. That's a lie. There are all types of lies you'll be told, or there's no point in even investing in the continent. Get out. That's a lie. This continent is powerful and wealthy and has astounding potential. So it's really about the re-education. If I could teach anything, that's what I'd say is reclaim. We have to reclaim ourselves. Reclaim the power of who we just are. Go back to what your foremothers did, what your forefathers did, and know that there was something powerful in it. It's not something to be ashamed of. The shame factor is a lie. And sometimes people deal with that. They deal with shame about being African, which now that I'm kind of old and don't think like that anymore, I think that's crazy, but we deal with it. I dealt with it when I was much younger. Have to re-educate and reject the lie. That's the only thing I would love to make sure every one of us gets to. I'm sure many of you have, but there's still gonna be things coming at you all the time that tell you the lie. And I'd love for you to do it like a Nigerian. Is that lie? Gotta make some Nigerian friends every now and then, you know what I'm saying? They are the most populated nation on the continent.
Photograph. Go closer.
So just know it's a lie. It's a lie.
Together. Closer.